Good morning, my friends. Happy Monday, June 15th. Moving right along. Okay, I hope you had a great weekend. It was beautiful weather outside. I really didn't do anything. We're hanging out here at the house in the yard, and it was Flag Day yesterday. I did wear red, white, and blue, and we had our flag out. I have to put it out this morning. But I hope you had a good weekend. We are moving right along. There are only 4 days of school left. Now, I know you're thinking, oh, there's 4 days. Why do we have to do any work? But we do have to do a little bit. So we're finished with our DLR. Yay! You guys did a great job with that. That's just some regular work that we need to do. And I'm glad everybody did well with that. And I hope you've been keeping them in your packet in case we needed them for anything, if you needed to refer back to them. What we're going to do these last couple of days is we're going to be working on writing a friendly letter. Now, you've done that before, and letter writing has changed. You know, when I tried to find it, and I think it's up in my attic. When I was your age, I had pen pals, and we used to write letters to each other. I had a pen pal that lived in England, and I had a pen pal that lived in New Zealand. And I still have some of those letters. I had friends as I got older that went into the Navy, and I wrote letters to them. I had a friend that lived up here in town, and she moved down to Maryland, and we kept track with each other, and we wrote letters. This is before email, where you either had to pick up a telephone that was attached to the wall and call somebody, and that was expensive. You got charged by the minute, so it was cheaper to write a letter. So now, whether you write just like a little note card, have you ever written thank you notes to people? That's really a form of a letter. Or you just write a letter telling somebody about something. One of the things is I collect old postcards, and that's how people communicated with each other. They would write as much as they could cram into that little part of a postcard and tell their friend or family member what was going on. So we're going to be writing a letter to your teachers for next year. But today we're going to just practice. We're going to review the parts of a letter and just do a quick review. So if you can see this, we're going to write a friendly letter. And this would be the letter part here. And there's 5 parts to a letter. So the first part is the date. Right? So I have June 15th, 2020. I don't know if you can read the small orange parts that says date. The other part, next part, is the greeting. Some people use a fancy word called the salutation. You might hear that. But the greeting, that means like saying hello, or I have dear Karen. That's my greeting. Then all the part that you talk about, or you tell them something, that's the body of your letter. That's the big part of your letter, the body. So from here to here is the body of the letter. Down here, we have the closing, and I have your friend. Sometimes we have love, we have sincerely, different closings. And then the signature, and that's where we put our name. Now, depending on the person you're writing to, you may or may not put your last name. If you're writing a letter to your grandmother, you're not going to put your last name. Your grandmother knows who you are. But this is a letter, and we'll get into that, but I have my first and last name. I should have had a space here. You see I have arrows moving down. I wrote the closing before I wrote the body, and I should have, just in setting this up, but there should be more of a space here. So let's look at my letter. It says, Dear Karen, I just received my letter of acceptance for teacher camp at UConn. I hope that we can be roommates. It's going to be so much fun. Right? So this wouldn't be a family member. This would be a letter to a friend. And we got accepted into teacher camp at UConn. I kind of made this up. But there's different camps that you can go to as an adult too, as a kid, as a teenager. My son went to engineering camp years ago up at UConn. He went for a week and stayed in the dorms. And it was his first taste of college life, what it was like. But he was 16 years old when he did that. And this kind of reminds me of that. That's how I made this letter up. But you'll see, my body, this is a very short body. Now, this was only for demonstration period purposes. When we write a letter to our teacher, we're going to write more than 3 sentences. I have 3 sentences in here. Okay, so, but 5 parts: date, greeting, body, closing, signature. 5 parts. We have to remember that. Okay, so let's see. If we were going to write a letter to someone, you really have to think it out first. Let's say you have a cousin who lives in another state, and you're going to write a letter to them. I have writing a letter to a friend or family. So I had my friend that moved to Maryland when we were in high school, and we wrote back and forth. It was just fun. It's not like special thing. It doesn't have to be a special thing that you're writing about. Sometimes you could just be telling them about the day-to-day things. When my kids would go to Boy Scout camp, and the Scoutmaster would make them write a letter to their parents. And just tell me what you're doing with your day. How many of you love to get mail? Isn't it fun when you go out to the mailbox and you're like, oh, I got a letter from somebody? Or if you did, have you ever gotten a postcard? Even postcards are something we don't see too much of anymore. But it's fun to get that. So we want to practice writing that. And now that we're kind of home a lot, this might be a good time to practice writing a letter. Talk with your mom or dad as to who maybe you could write an actual letter to that maybe doesn't live around here, doesn't live in Connecticut. Okay, but you could practice too, writing to your grandmother. She lives in the next town over. So if you're writing a letter, I want to brainstorm, thinking, I could write about what have you been doing for distance learning. I could tell them about what we've been doing, not just in my class, but you could tell them about what you've been doing in your other classes. Well, how does it work like with homeroom, or how does it work with science class? What kinds of things? How about gym? You could tell them about virtual field day. You could talk about your hobbies. You could talk about pets. If you have a pet, you could talk about them. You could talk about your plans for the summer. Maybe you're going away to a relative's house this summer. I know our plans have kind of changed, but your families may still have some plans. More and more things are opening up, and I think we're going to see some changes in what we've been doing day to day. You could tell about outdoor activities that you're doing. Maybe you went over to a neighbor's house and had a cookout, where there weren't a lot of people or something like that. So what you should do is brainstorm. You could jot it down on, a little piece of paper. It's like, okay, I want to talk about this. I want to talk about my hobbies. I want to tell them about my new dog, or tell them about the new trick that my dog has learned to do. So make a list of different things that you could write about. Then you go back and you set up your letter. Okay? So, what we're going to do today, I have a Google Doc on your Google Classroom. I want you to type up the letter, and I want you to just leave it. It's in your Google Doc, so you don't have to return it to me. I can see it. Just to point out, your date goes over here. The greeting goes in the next line. Don't forget to indent. I did not put that there. I'm going to put it right here. You have to indent 5 spaces or hit the tab. Tab over once. It's always at the beginning of your paragraph. We do that when we write by hand. We have to do that when we type too. Okay, so I want everybody to work on this, return it to me, and start thinking of some things that you want to tell your teachers, because, like I said, we're going to send those letters out. I'm going to email them to them once we find out who you have. Probably email. And I want you to start thinking about some things that you're going to tell them about yourself. So have a great day, everybody. Get outside. Bye.